Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
I want my students to do an equal balance of technique, fundamentals, but also practice like you play. And what that means is pick a target in the distance, hit a driver to it, grab your next club, maybe it's an 8-iron, pick another target, go at it, and be constantly challenging yourself to switch clubs, never letting yourself get into a groove, because we all know you can't get really into that groove of hitting 6 drivers in a row on the golf course. Then once you start to get the hang of that, then challenge yourself to curve shots. I tell a lot of my students, hey, let's just curve this one left to right. I want to see you fade one into the pin in the middle of the range. And they look at me like I'm crazy. You know, they might be a 15 handicapper and they tell me, I just want to hit it straight. How often do you hit a straight ball? Pretty much never. That's the hardest shot in golf. So if you teach yourself to aim left of a pin and visualize the fade and really just work on fading that ball left to right into the pin, you'll surprise yourself more often than not.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to Golf Smarter for members only. Chris?
Hello, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And in the 5 minutes that it's been since our last recording, I've completely lost my voice. I wish it was to say because I was rooting for football, but I'm not going to do that. I want to continue on our conversation, which I really enjoyed speaking with you and got some great tips about pitching and even learned a lot about golf balls. But I want to talk today, start with an article that you wrote about winter tricks to keep your game hot. Here we are clearly in the depths of winter now as we record this. I don't know when somebody is listening to it, but it could be a time, unless, of course, you're in Australia, you're in the middle of summer, and screw you. And I'm going to come down and play with you. But here we are. Storms are hitting. The rain has finally hit the West Coast, and it's going to be tough to get out. And I just would like to be able to keep my game in shape for the upcoming season because it always takes 2 or 3 months to get back on track. You have some ways of making it so once I hit the golf course in the spring that I'm just hot?
Oh, of course. There's a lot of things that you can do to make sure that when you get back on the golf course that you will have a head lead against your friends. The main one that I talk about is sequencing. In your golf swing, the first thing that you will lose is your sequencing if you don't play enough or practice enough. And what I mean by that is your muscles and your body aren't going to fire in the ways that they used to in terms of ground up. So I like to see my players firing from the knees, then that reacts to the hips and then shoulders, and then out towards the club head. The first thing that you will lose is that sequence. So what I like to do is give my students some drills that they can do inside their house to keep their sequence top-notch during the off-season.
Okay, so I am now standing.
Yes, sir.
And I am ready for those drills.
Okay, so the main one is I think a mirror is very effective in terms of golf improvement. So if you can get in front of a mirror or something reflective that you can see yourself in, I want you to set up just like you're going to hit a 5-iron. You don't need a club, but you do set up as if you're holding one. And what I want you to do is make a full backswing, try to get a full shoulder turn, and pause at the top. Hold this for about 20 seconds. This will get a good stretch going, and it'll get a good setup for that downswing sequence. So from here, what I want you to feel is we're going to take about 30 seconds to make this downswing, so take your time. Take it very slowly. We're going to work on that sequence, like I said. So when you get to the top, hold it, and we're ready to start the downswing. You want to push off with your trail leg, which for me, I'm a right-handed golfer. My trail leg's my right leg. So we're starting from the ground. That right foot's going to push forward, going really slow. The knees should start to shift towards the target. From there, you should feel your hips reacting to this move. So by now, we've only gone about 5 seconds. We're going really slow. The hips have started to move. Now, from here, what I want you to feel is those hips starting to rotate open to your target. As soon as those hips start to rotate, you're going to feel the upper body and the club start to move. So the goal of this first sequence motion is to make the club move very last on the downswing. So starting from the right foot pushing off, then the knees, then the hips starting to shift and turn. Now the club can start to move on the downswing. From there, you want to continue that sequence really slow and make all the way through to the finish last about 20 more seconds. So it's going to be about a 30-second downswing, really focusing on the order of the muscles firing on the downswing.
Lynn Marriott called, and again, my voice, I hear it, and I'm like, oh boy, I sound terrible. Lynn Marriott called this a Tai Chi swing, which I've always loved, doing this as slow as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, obviously, it's always been incredibly hard to fake a golf swing without something in your hands. I mean, because your hands just don't stay together, so that's the hardest part. So right. I don't have a club, but I do have a walking stick with me right here. So I can grab that, and that's fine.
Yes.
But, so what I want to know is, so my hands are all the way back now, right?
Yes.
And my hips start first before my hands start coming down?
Yes. You want the hips to start the downswing, the lower body, and then the club reacts to that. So your hands will follow the lower body moving.
I see.
Yes. One of the guys that I've learned a lot from is Brian Hepler, who teaches quite a bit of tour pros. He's a really good instructor, but he's really big on I want to say the feng shui of golf. What he talks about is that he's the sensei and the student is learning with a sword almost in a dojo. So that's kind of the picture I have when we're doing this, is really slow movements, trying to just feel how your body's supposed to move.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back into, because I see a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this myself. What I don't do, and I've gotten out of it, is I see a lot of people on their backswing, their front leg, and I'm right-handed as well, so this would be my left leg. When their backswing is all the way back, they tend to lift their left heel.
Yes.
Right? And that also forces your left knee to point behind you. Point at your at the cart if you're if you're teeing off. It's pointing in the wrong direction. You're saying keep your feet down and your knee pointing at, when you say the target. You're talking about the ball that's teed up, the ball that's there, or are you talking about?
When I say pointing at the target, I'm talking downswing sequence.
Okay.
So as you start the downswing, I firmly believe there's a strong shift towards your target, which is the golf hole or the tree you're aiming for in the through the fairway, things like that. And what it is it's a lateral slide or shift towards the target with your knees and your hips, and that's what kicks off that sequence on the downswing, and it'll help you hit more draws.
Whoa, wait, time out. Did you just tell me to slide to shift my hips? When I've been yelled at for such a... Boy, I got to stop talking. I've been yelled at forever but my hips are moving. I'm sliding.
Oh, slide is good. Now...
What?
Yes, believe me. The sway is lateral movement going back. So I don't like sway one bit, because if you sway going back, it's going to be hard to get that shift and that slide on the downswing.
Define sway.
So sway is the lateral motion. So it's not a turning. It's when your hips slide or sway to the right, kind of outside your back leg. That's bad. I like to keep my weight centered on the backswing. So you'll stay rotary as you go back. You stay turning. The weight should stay inside of your trail leg, which is my right leg. And then from there, since the weight's inside and I've made a good rotation, I can then push off, and it's a sliding motion towards the target to start the downswing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That slide will also give you a proper shoulder tilt, which means as I push forward towards the target on the downswing, my right shoulder will then start to go lower than my left shoulder, causing the club to drop to the inside plane, and then you'll be able to swing more inside out from there.
Someone pointed out to me recently that on the top of my backswing, my right elbow was looking like a baseball player. Mm-hmm. It was way out. Where should my talk to me about my arm positions on my backswing? Right elbow. I know left elbow straight, but as I'm coming down, where is that headed? Where am I positioning that?
It's all relative in terms of what misses you have and what you're trying to accomplish in your golf swing. But typically, someone who has a flying right elbow at the top of their backswing will start the downswing with the wrong sequence, meaning they'll use their upper body to start the downswing, causing the right shoulder and right elbow to fly above the swing plane and over the top. I have some really good players, though, that play with a flying right elbow at the top that can still draw the ball because they have the downswing sequence correct, meaning they shift from the lower body to start the downswing, which then drops that elbow into their right hip, bringing the club from the inside.
Where do we go from here? So now I'm doing my very slow swing.
Yes.
And
so
let's work on the follow through there at my contact position.
Okay, so coming into impact, if we have done that slide forward where the weight is starting to shift to the front foot on the downswing, I like to use the left knee, the lead leg, as a checkpoint. When you are about waist high on your downswing, your hands are waist high on your downswing, that left knee should be outside of your left foot. And then you know you've shifted your weight correctly, and then the sequence is getting there. Now, as the club comes into the ball, you want to start to rotate your hips, which will slow your hands down. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of flippers and casters and guys that scoop under the ball that lose distance and slice it. And what happens is they get jammed up at impact oftentimes because the sequence on the downswing is incorrect. Well, we're starting to fix that sequence by this drill. But once you come into the ball, to slow your hands down and get forward shaft lean, which means lag in the club, we have to rotate our hips all the way until the club squares up into the ball. When you get to impact, you'll know you did it right is if your hands are off your left thigh and your club head is right at the golf ball and your left hip has opened up towards the target. Okay. Do you follow that, Fred?
Yeah. I don't have a mirror. I wish I did. I don't have a ballet studio here, but or a dance studio. I'm sorry, but I think I'm there.
Okay, so coming into the ball, your left hip is opened up. Your left knee is in front of your left foot, so we have a good lateral move towards the target, and the hands have slowed down because we've started to rotate, squaring up the club face. From there, I like you just to follow through all the way as slow as you can. But once you get advanced, once you get to this impact position, you can start to learn to add speed and whoosh the club through, or if you don't have a club, just whoosh your arms through to the finish, and you'll feel how that rotation and that shift towards the target really helps you get the club head speed in the right spot, which is just after impact. And then it should carry you on to the finish where your weight's on your front foot, your body's facing the target, and you're balanced.
I've always had a problem with my my left hand and wrist breaking. Not literally breaking, but like instead of staying flat, the back of my hand staying flat, I bend my hand back.
Right.
So on my backswing, it's not straight. It's bent. So that means my club head is just straight up. And then also, I've found recently, mostly because of practicing with a Tour Striker club, that my the back of my left hand is now facing not the target, but is facing at the ball, straight in front of me.
Right.
And so on the swing here, as my hands are coming over, is it just a rotation, or am I pushing my right hand over the top? So
I call that turn down, and when turn down happens, it's from your waist to the golf ball on the downswing. And I once read, I think, a quote from Tiger saying that it felt like he was dragging his left-hand knuckles through the dirt. And what that does is it allows you to square the club face up without a big flip or a big roll of the hands. It's more of like a turn down, a very powerful move that steepens out your downswing into the golf ball. And what I mean by steep is the sharpest angle into the golf ball, which will get you that pinch into the ball. So to me, the turn down should happen from your waist to the golf ball on the downswing. And like Tiger said it best, dragging those left-hand knuckles into the ground, or it's almost pointing the patch of your glove on your left hand towards the golf ball on that downswing.
Good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Okay. So now we've been practicing this swing very slowly.
Yes.
All right. More winter tricks.
Okay, so I
love when you're in office buildings and you see guys standing waiting for the elevator and they're practicing their swing.
I taught a security guard, the head of security for this big bank, and he said he was the guy that watched the video cameras, and he said he would always see guys in the elevator when they were alone. They were practicing their golf swing in the elevator.
So fun. My son started playing golf last year, and he was getting all excited about it. But he tries a new sport like 4 times a year. It's very funny. So I said, that golf's going to be deep in your brains when you are waiting for elevators and you see yourself practicing your golf swing. He said, I'm already there.
That's official. That's officially catching the golf bug when you start to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so interesting because people do it without any instruction at all. So they're just doing the wrong habits.
Oh, yes.
And they're just thinking that they've got it, and they go out and see, wow, why do I suck? Because you're not listening to Golf Smarter, damn it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. More tricks, more tips for winter.
All right. This one's a lot of fun for me. I do it with my juniors all the way up to the seniors that I teach. You can move this drill indoors for your short game, and what I'm talking about is putting. I'm going to try to describe this so you can visualize it, but what you want to do is it's a ladder drill, and you're going for score here, and it helps you control your speed. So you want to set the starting line about, I want to say, a yard in front of you, and I usually put like a book or a sock, something on the ground that I know that's the starting line. It's not in my path, though. It's just a starting line off to the side of my putting path. Then you put a finish line maybe 3 or 4 yards ahead of the starting line. Again, you can use a book, a sock, something to mark that finish line.
But not a cup. You're not aiming for a cup here.
No, you're not. You are putting. You're just putting straight out into the living room, the bedroom, wherever you have a good 5-10 yards of space. And then you just use something to mark the start and the finish. Mm-hmm. So you set up behind the starting line, and the goal of this first putt is to putt it just past the starting line. So as close as you can get, but not in front of it. So once you've done that, you successfully started the game. The next putt has to go past that one, but not past the finish line. Then the next one, the same thing, goes past the previous one, but not past the finish line. So as you can see, you're making a ladder of golf balls all the way from start to finish. And the goal is to get as many points or as many golf balls in that ladder until you go past that finish line, or shorter than your previous putt. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to picture, but once you get the gist of it, it's an easy game, but it helps you control your speed and helps you maintain a consistent stroke, because in order to control speed, you have to be consistent.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot because I think that, when people say, I haven't played in a month, I haven't played in 2 months type of thing, the thing that's the most obvious about their lack of play is their touch around short shots and putting.
Yes.
Losing the feel. And what I like about this is that it's not about your direction, it's about your distance, and that's so much more important. I love asking people who I'm playing with, because I play a 9-hole course, that are new players, and I love saying, so let me ask you, what's more important in putting, distance or direction? And they're always about, direction, got to get it right. And it's like, yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because if your direction is right on and the ball goes 7 yards past the hole, is that a good idea, or do you want to be 1 foot off to the right and pin high? Right?
Exactly.
So your distance is always going to be more important. So that's what I like about this drill is that the one thing that really happens during off season and time down is that your distance control is way off.
Right, exactly. And how often do you see those guys on those 9-hole courses and even the 18-hole just reading a putt forever, walking around it, and then they go to strike it and it's, half the distance or it goes 10 feet by. It's truly about your speed control and knowing how hard and how long of a stroke to make to get the ball at least pin high or a tap-in range.
Yeah, that's my game.
There you go.
Not the tap-in range. It's missing it. By okay, so now we got a swing tip. We got a putting tip. You got any more winter things for us? Or is that enough for this assignment?
I think that's enough for the winter tips. I mean, you're master those, and then we'll go from there. But the swing sequence one is enough to keep you busy for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's where I want to go next, because it's a different article that you wrote that I was very interested in, and that's the back nine blow up, where
yes.
you have a nice front nine, you're feeling good about your game, you're feeling confident, you go to the back nine, all of a sudden it's a different day, and nothing's working, and you start just beating yourself up. Or you're playing well, and all of a sudden at 15, everything starts to fall apart, and you feel like you're getting lightheaded, and you're just not concentrating anymore. There's just so many ways that back nine will just kill your day.
Right. The first thing, and I get phone calls all the time from my clients that are out on 14 or a text message that, hey, what's going on? I'm starting to slice all of a sudden, or I'm topping it. What's going on? I think a lot of it has to do with your preparation. And what I mean by that is the way you practice golf. You can practice swing, but you can practice it too much. I want my students to do an equal balance of technique, fundamentals, but also practice like you play. And what that means is pick a target in the distance, hit a driver to it, grab your next club. Maybe it's an 8-iron, pick another target, go at it, and be constantly challenging yourself to switch clubs, never letting yourself get into a groove, because we all know you can't get really into that groove of hitting 6 drivers in a row on the golf course. Then once you start to get the hang of that, then challenge yourself to curve shots. I tell a lot of my students, hey, let's just curve this one left to right. I want to see you fade one into the pin in the middle of the range. And they look at me like I'm crazy. They might be a 15 handicapper, and they tell me, I just want to hit it straight. How often do you hit a straight ball? Pretty much never. That's the hardest shot in golf. So if you teach yourself to aim left of a pin and visualize the fade and really just work on fading that ball left to right into the pin, you'll surprise yourself more often than not. So practicing like you play is key. The other one is developing a solid routine. Most people who blow up on the back nine do not have a routine.
You mean pre-shot routine?
Yes, a pre-shot routine. From the time that you pull your club out of your bag till you walk up to the golf ball and strike it, you need to have a solid routine. And it's personal. It's something that you want to do differently for everybody, based on if you're a visual learner, if you like to hear things, if you like to feel things. So it's personal, but you need to develop a routine with your coach for that pre-shot. And I always say there's a time frame that you want to hit with this routine that I keep consistent. When you pull that club out of the bag, you make your last practice swing. I like to do a shot clock, 7 to 10 seconds before you have to hit the ball within 7 to 10 seconds of your last practice swing. So you stand behind the golf ball, 1, 2 practice swings. You have that 7 to 10 second gap that I want you to be able to walk up to the ball and make contact. If you're longer than that, you're going to start to overthink. If you're shorter than that, you're going to be going too fast and you most likely get too tense. So the one constant in a pre-shot routine is having that 7 to 10 second shot clock, but everything else you can develop personally with your golf coach.
Are there elements of the pre-shot routine that, and of course everybody's is going to be unique, but are there elements to the pre-shot routine that are like on the checklist that you have to do?
Yes. I think using your peripheral, and what I mean by this is when you set up, if you look up at your target right before you swing, that's using your peripheral. You're not going to be very accurate. I want you to use a spot in front of your golf ball when you're setting up to make your full swing that's, within 1 to 5 feet based on how comfortable you are. That way you're using both eyes to look at this spot and align your body. A lot of times I'll see my students walk up to the ball, and then they'll get their feet set, get ready to go, and then they'll look up with their whole body. Their right shoulder comes up, their chest faces the target. They go, okay, I know where I'm going to hit it. And then they come back down, and what they've done is they've misaligned their knees, their hips, their shoulders. And for those slicers, this is killer. This is what's going to make them slice even more, because opening your body to the target to see where you want to hit it creates a misalignment that's going to cause more of a slice. So yes, I do like to pick a spot in front of the golf ball that you can align yourself to, and not picking a huge target out in the distance that you can get distracted by.
Picking that spot, are you doing that from address, or are you doing that before that?
I like to do it
right in front of the ball.
During those 2 practice swings. I like to have my student look at the target and zero in on the target that they want to hit to as they do those 2 practice swings. And then they use their sight to draw a line from the target to their golf ball. As you're walking up to the ball, use that line that you've drawn to find something that stands out maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of you. But you do pick that spot. I like to pick that spot as I'm walking to the golf ball from my last practice swing.
And if you are, I'm working on this because I'm visualizing my own pre-shot routine, which is pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But if, and I think I'm within that 7 to 10 seconds. I have even had people comment to me, it's like, boy, once you address the ball, you just get up there and hit it. You don't stand around very much. And I have friends that we laugh because it's like we can go to the bathroom, buy a hot dog, and come back, and he still hasn't made his swing. But if you find yourself all of a sudden you're starting to think and all these swing thoughts, and you've been there longer than you want to be, it's so hard to step away from that.
Yes, it is. And what I do...
How do you force yourself to, what I like to say is take that mental mulligan, walk away and start it again? Yes.
When we practice on the range, a lot of my clients, when we're working on this pre-shot routine, we'll put a timer. Once that timer goes off, they have to back off the ball. The common fear, I think, with most students is, oh my gosh, my group's going to be mad that I backed off. They're going to think that I'm taking forever. They're going to think that I'm trying to be on the PGA Tour by backing off this golf ball. When really the fact is, if you strike that ball when you're feeling uncomfortable, you're going to take more time anyway because you're not going to hit it very well. So take that time, back off the ball. Don't worry about what others are thinking. Stay in the moment. Take that mental mulligan, like you said, walk back up and hit it. I just think too many golfers are playing scared of affecting their group and things like that. So, yes.
Yeah, they are. All right, practice like you play, a solid pre-shot routine. I still don't see how this is going to help me prevent a back nine blow-up.
So
I'm in the midst of my back nine blow-up. I'm trying to do the same thing every time. I'm pissed at myself. I practiced well this morning, right? But here I am. I'm on 12, and all of a sudden the last 2 holes did not go the way the first 9 did.
Then we've got to look at your health and the way you've prepared your body for 18 holes of golf, because it is, 4 to 5 hours, especially wintertime in Arizona. We're looking at 5 hours of work, and each swing does take a toll on your body. Each time you walk from the cart to your golf ball, you are burning calories. So what you want to do is prepare yourself from the first tee on. And what I mean by that is I like to drink what I call BCAAs, and those are branched chain amino acids. And what happened was I worked out with a personal trainer, a TPI guy, and I was having the same issues. And he suggested this maybe, I want to say 6 years ago, and I swear by it ever since. That you can buy them in any flavor, any health store. But what you do is you just take a water bottle, dump them in there, shake it up, and then you want to sip it throughout your round of golf. And really what they do is they help keep your muscles full of those vitamins, and they keep your energy up throughout the entire round. Because if you're doing everything like routine, you've practiced well, and you still can't avoid those back nine blowups, then we've got to start to look at your nutrition and your health.
Today's not a day to be talking about my health. That's not fair. Okay, and what they call BRCC.
Close. B branched chain amino acids.
Chain amino acids. And where can
Bingo.
I buy this stuff?
I get mine at High Health, but any health store has them, and like I said, any flavor as well. So
does it flavor the water? Because I just drink water. I don't want anything sweet or in my mouth at that time. That's a distraction. I just want water. But it does in with just a couple teaspoons or something, and just shake it up, and then it's just there the whole time. And
exactly. And what I like to do is, after the first few holes, I like to have about half of my water gone. And then what I do is I refill it up, so it kind of dilutes the flavor for the rest of the round, but it also gives you a boost start to your round by drinking a little bit more at the beginning than at the end.
And what about food consumption? Do you eat at the turn? Do you graze throughout the round, or do you just avoid food altogether?
No, I graze. I like to get those bars that have the right amount of carbs. A little bit more carbs is good at this point. But I just graze on one or two of those. I like the back 9 bars that are sold at the golf courses, or protein bars. But I just graze on one of those or two of those throughout the entire round.
Okay.
Definitely don't suggest stopping for those monster hot dogs and the big Coke if you are one of those guys who need to avoid the back 9 blowups.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I learned that stopping for something to eat at the turn always had a negative impact on my game, and that once I started doing what I do is just either peanut butter pretzels or just a bag of nuts, a 3-ounce bag of nuts that I can take. It can take me 18 holes to go through a 3-ounce bag of nuts, and sometimes it's kind of embarrassing because people are looking at me like eating nuts, and they're like, "You're not gonna offer me any." It's like, no, I'm on a strict routine. I can't. And plus, if you offer it, they'll just take the whole bag, dump it in their hand, wolf it down once. It's like, hey, thanks. Like, no, you don't. No, you can't have any more. But yeah, I like to just graze through a bag of nuts and some water, and it seems to really help keep my blood sugar level throughout all 18 holes, especially when you get into those last couple ones.
Right.
But the branched, don't do it. No, I'm going to do it. I can't even read my writing. Branched amino acids. Branched. What did I write here? R. I have no idea what I wrote. Branched?
Do you need help?
Yes.
Branched chain amino.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I wouldn't know that. Chain amino acids. I will definitely check that out online first.
Well, let me tell you one thing that I teach a lot of high-level golfers, and they swear by those peanut butter pretzels. So you hit one right on the head there, Fred. Is those peanut butter pretzels are a hit down here in Arizona with the competitive golfers.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome because they have the salty, crunchy, protein, everything in it. And then you buy a big one at Costco, fill up a bag, and then you can share them with everybody. No problem.
You go.
You mentioned TPI, that you've been working with TPI instructors. You are not a TPI instructor.
I am not, no.
And we've had TPI instructors on the show. I just think that it's the Titleist Performance Institute is a phenomenal program. I've never been personally involved. I've just heard great things about it and talked to various instructors. But tell me about why you started as an instructor, started taking advantage of TPI and what it's done for your game. So
I found that I was hitting walls with a lot of my students that were playing at their highest level. We worked together for 2 years, made huge strides, and then all of a sudden it's bam, what's going on? We're not getting as good as we want to get. We're not hitting the positions as good as we should. So I started, taking a look at their flexibility, injuries, things like that, and that led me to one of my partners, which is a TPI instructor. He's not a golf instructor, but TPI fitness guy. His name's Andrew. And I sent some of my students to him, and he did the screening on them and found out that there was a lot of things going on inside their body that was hindering them in their golf swing. Once we started working on those things, we blasted through that wall that we had hit, and we just went back on improving together with Andrew and myself. Those students were able to reach levels that they never have reached before.
We got to get Andrew on the show.
We do. I agree. He's a good guy.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to hear more about how TPI, to me, I think that for the average recreational golfer, which I consider myself, I think that they don't give flexibility and conditioning as much credit or dedication as they could. When they hit walls on their progress and just, don't know why that they can't get any further. And I think that would be, it takes discipline. Everything takes discipline, and that's not the easiest thing to do when you're trying to live your life. I think
exactly.
That's the problem with all that stuff.
Well, a lot of guys are looking for the quick fix, and hey, I need a 30-minute lesson. I'm playing in a tournament tomorrow.
Right. Get
me going. But it takes more than that if you want to play better golf and be happier with the outcomes.
Is that true? Is that you have people calling you? It's like, I need a lesson because I'm playing in a tournament next week?
Oh, just
the charity tournament coming up?
Just this weekend, I had the husband of one of my students called me, and Chris, I need something quick. I need it. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm full this weekend. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all I need. Told him there's nothing we can do in 10 minutes, but if you want to come and hit balls, if it's going to help get your mental preparation ready, just to know that I've seen your swing, come on down. And sure enough, showed up for 10 minutes, changed one slight thing that probably isn't going to make a huge difference. But then he calls me and says, oh, it worked. It worked. It was a great change. But it really all I did was just set him mentally straight, ready for the tournament.
Yeah, I talked to someone who said that he gets more calls when people are about to either play in a charity tournament or go on vacation than any other time. And then they take one lesson, maybe two, in preparation for that, and they don't see him again for another year.
Yep, gotta love it.
Yeah, God, that's great. Hey, Chris, thanks again for coming back and doing this members-only episode. I appreciate you spending extra time with me. I know you got lessons to get to today, and I'm going to go take a nap. I can't believe I've made it this far. But we hope to be able to speak with you again. And if anybody has any questions for Chris, of course, just go and click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com, and I'll forward it along to Chris, and then he'll get back to you. But if anybody wants to visit your website or see your YouTube videos, how can they do that?
The website is www.expertgolfaz.com, and there's a calendar, there's links all over that homepage there. But the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Chris Fry, CHRISFRY, golf.dot.com. So that's where all the YouTube videos are, but the website can link you to anything.
Do you really have to put www? You don't have to. I don't think on anything. I don't think you need to.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, don't tell people that. It's confusing. Now you get too much to think about. All right, so it's chrisfrygolf.com, right?
Wrong.
No, wrong. It's it's right, because on YouTube it's chrisfrygolf.com, right?
youtube.com/chrisfrygolf.com.
But you spell out chrisfrygolf.com .dot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's on YouTube. But your website is Expert Golf AZ, because you're Arizona, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Expert Golf Arizona AZ. expertgolfaz.com. Sorry to drag that out. My brain's not working either. It's time for me to check out. Chris Fry, thanks so much for being on Golf Smarter.
Thanks, Fred.